The Chip Podcast, hosted by Jim Norton, has lost over half its audience. Now, Jimmy started this podcast over a year ago, and every new upload used to average around 100,000 views. But over the course of a year, that number has dropped to an average of 45,000 views. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, 45,000 views for your weekly podcast is still pretty good, but it's not 100,000. And so, usually things don't work that way, by the way. Usually things build up and then maybe plateau and drop a little, but usually things don't start out so high and then drop to more than half the audience just not watching anymore. Now, it could be my feeling on it is got a little stale. It's like, it's weird to say this, but it's taken a little too seriously. Like, I went to that Chip, the first live show he did, where he had The Rock and Ricky Gervais and Rich Voss do the videos. They were at that comedy club. That was a great live show, and probably the shining moment of the Chip Podcast. I went to the one in Boston. It was terrible. It was lame and god awful. But, I mean, to lose more than half your audience, and like I said, 45 still isn't that bad, but my thought was, all right, do a year of Chip, then maybe do like Uncle Paul for another year, and then maybe go back to Chip. I don't know, but your podcast lost more than half its audience. But like I said, it's still good, and like Riotcast will still do it because it's probably still the number one thing at Riotcast. But I mean, I don't know how many more live shows can be done if more than half the audience stopped watching. I mean, when I was in Boston, that was sold out, but it was Boston. So I'm pretty sure you can probably sell out Boston and New York or something. But, I mean, I don't really watch the Chip Podcast that much, unless I hear there's a good Opie trashing in it, which there usually is, and something tells me if you might have to step that up if he wants to get more eyes on it, but and as he should, because Opie keeps taking shots at Jimmy on friggin' Twitter. So, but Jimmy, I thought, wasn't it announced that they were going to start bringing it to Sirius XM? I don't know if they've done that yet. Also, the infrequentness of Anthony being there, because sometimes you'll check out the Chip Podcast and Anthony's not there, and the first comment is like, "No, Anthony, not watching." So he's the co-host of Chip. Well, what a fall from grace. But yeah, so the Chip Podcast lost more than half its audience.